Now, for years, One Piece fans had a massive bragging right. Unlike Naruto or Dragon Ball Z, people claimed One Piece had a flawless power scaling system. We knew who the top dogs were. We knew that they were the strongest from the very beginning. Mihawk, the Admirals, the Emperors, and Oda kept them at a distant, terrifying ceiling, while Luffy slowly climbed this ladder. But let's be honest with ourselves. The ceiling didn't just get reached, it got blasted into, well, the stratosphere. By the time we hit the Wano arc, and of course, Egghead and the final saga, characters didn't just punch each other anymore. They were coating their fists in invisible armor, and, well, driving it with willpower, manipulating the fabric of reality, and erasing entire islands from the map with a single button press, sort of like an orbital cannon from GTA 5. The Gauntlet and the Grounded of, well, One Piece didn't feel grounded anymore. The tactical devil fruit battles of the past were no more, and the Grand Line was truly getting a bit smaller. Today we're looking at the exact structural shifts that led to One Piece's power scaling getting completely out of control. I'm your host, Anime 101. Like, share, subscribe to all good YouTube stuff, and let's get into it right now. Now, to see where the ceiling broke, we have to look at why it felt so perfect for the first 500 chapters, essentially. Early One Piece didn't rely on linear power levels, it relied on compatibility. The Crocodile solution. Crocodile was an invincible sand, well, being. Luffy couldn't even touch him. How did he win? Not by punching harder, by using water to solidify the sand. It was a tactical environmental victory. Another one was the Enel paradox. Enel had the power of literal lightning and was essentially a god in Skypiea. But Luffy won because his rubber is a natural insulator of electricity. Enel was vastly stronger, vastly faster, and vastly more versatile than Luffy overall. But the matchup completely neutralized this advantage. This was brilliant. It meant a weaker character could defeat a stronger one through sheer creativity and environmental awareness. Power wasn't a straight line, it was indeed a web. So, sort of like the Naruto situation, early chapters played with tactical advantages. Basically battle IQ and maneuverability above power and strength. But this is where Oda ran into a massive writing corner. The Logia Devil Fruits. Once characters like Smoker, Ace, Onokuji, and Kizaru entered the mix, whew, shit went down. Characters who could turn their bodies into literal elements. And the creativity of, well, battle stopped working. You can't carry a bucket of water to fight a man made of pure light or magma. To fix this, Oda had to introduce a universal equalizer. Haki. Really, Haki was a rare, mysterious spiritual pressure, essentially. Like Shanks scaring off the monster in the beginning. But after the time skip, it became a mandatory armor plating system. If you didn't have armor Haki, you literally couldn't play the game in the new world. This is the first major blow to One Piece's scaling. It shifted the combat from how can Luffy use his rubber body creativity to solve puzzles to how could Luffy use this new bullshit ability to win? It's basically, oh yeah, my willpower is shielding me stronger because I have stronger willpower than you. It's confusing. Once Haki became the primary stat, the power creep accelerated at a breakneck pace. Look at the progression of Luffy's Gear 4 forms. Dressrosa, Gear 4 Bounce Man was an absolute noob. Completely overwhelmed Doflamingo, a veteran warlord. But just one arc later in Whole Cake Island, Bounce Man wasn't enough. Oda had to introduce basically advanced observation Haki, ability to literally see into the future, just so Luffy could compete with the enemies there. Think about the sheer scale of that jump. In the span of a few weeks in the story, basic high-tier Haki became completely obsolete. If you couldn't see into the future, you were suddenly low tier. In mid-class of One Piece world, characters like Brook, Chopper, Frankie were effectively locked out of the main fights because the baseline requirement to stand in the room had become absurdly high. But this truly exploded within Wano. Yes, the peak of the series, Kaido was introduced as the strongest creature alive. He was so durable that normal attacks and even advanced internal destruction haki barely scratched him. Once again, Oda wrote himself into a corner. How do you beat an immortal dragon? You, escalate your abilities. Oh, advanced conquerors haki? Well, characters can now coat their attacks in it, allowing them to damage opponents even without touching them. Turned a rare leadership trait into a level stat multiplier. Luffy's fruit wasn't, the Gum fruit. It was the mythical Zonin human fruit model's sun god. The introduction of Gear 5 truly changed the fundamental nature of One Piece. Luffy went from a rubber boy fighting against the odds to a literal deity carrying the reincarnation of a liberator god. Gear 5 turns fights into literal Looney Tunes cartoons, where Luffy alters reality, manipulates lightning, and treats legendary emperors like skipping stones. It's incredibly fun to watch, but it completely vaporizes any remaining semblance of traditional power scaling. Now, at the end of the day, One Piece fell victim to the same gravity that pulls down every long-running shonen: the mantle of stakes. When a story runs for over 25 years, you can't keep the threats at the same level as they were. The stakes must escalate from saving a village to saving a kingdom to challenging the literal fabric of the world. Now, Oda managed to hide the power creep longer than most by utilizing the vast, world building of the One Piece universe and the political structure of the world. Eventually, the final boss fights had to happen. The Kaidos, the Big Moms, the Eggheads, and this emo. So, it's crazy. The tragedy isn't the current fights are amazing. Year 5 is a cultural phenomenon, don't get me wrong. But just like Naruto, One Piece suffers the exact same fate. But what do you think? Did the introduction of Haki and Gear 5 to the story truly make a difference? Or did it overall ruin it and just drag it into another, what am I watching now sort of thing? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe to all good YouTube stuff. Signing out. See you guys next time.